to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the show, and it is show number 157. Happy to be live here on Facebook, live on YouTube, on my website, listening on iTunes, wherever you are listening. My number one fan is on. Hello, Mom. Proud to be a member of the Education Podcast Network and a member of Voice Ed Radio Canada. If you're into podcasts, if you're into leadership and just listening to what people have to say, those are two great spots for you, the Education Podcast Network and Voice Ed Radio Canada. So please tune in. If you do like the podcast, the positive reviews help. They really do. So on iTunes, a review would be great, and certainly a shout out on Facebook or a share. Those help as well, and we would appreciate that. Show number 157, and today we are going to meet Orlando Ortiz. This is going. I really feel old when I say this, but it's like 20 years ago, right? Me and Orlando used to teach and referee in New York City, referee high school basketball. And here's these two young guys going in there. And Orlando's a smooth cat, a nice guy. He is one of Brooklyn's finest. And we used to work together in New York City refereeing. And then I'm on Facebook here 20 years later. And who is this jacked guy doing fitness videos for his students, for the community, for everybody? And it was him. So I reached out to him, asked him to come on, and we're going to meet him here in a moment. He's doing great stuff. He's really a fine educator, and proud to have him on the program. If you're watching live, like my mom does, leave us a comment, a question, jump in. We want the audience to be part of the show. That's one of the unique things about being live on the podcast. A little commercial. I am starting another coaching and mastermind group. That is going to be on Tuesdays, and they're starting in April. There'll be a flyer coming up on my website. There'll be some advertising come out for that. But if you're interested, you're a school leader, and you want to join a mastermind group, a coaching group with a number of school leaders, I'd love to have you. Those are starting in April, so certainly reach out to me about that. Mike Pace is watching. Mike, I know I got to call you. We'll get that set up for you, but welcome to the show here. The opening concept. Orlando's going to touch on this. I got this from him in our pre-show meeting, but he talked about that he gets it done, right? How many people do we know say they're going to do this and they're going to do that, and then it kind of fades away, it goes away, right? I'm guilty of it. It happens. He's got it as an acronym, a daily dose of never-ending excuses. Done. And, Orlando talked about that concept in terms of his fitness, in terms of reading, in terms of educating his students, that's one of his mindsets, right? So I'll pass that on to you again. Let's not have excuses. Let's have solutions. Let's have the action of getting it done. So again, daily dose of never-ending excuses. I think it's great. I write it down, and you already inspired me, Orlando, without even being on the show. But let's bring him in. Enough of me talking here with the opening segment. Let's meet today's guest. And here he is, straight out of Brooklyn. Orlando, welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond.
It's my pleasure, Andrew. I'm just honored. I'm honored, and man, you couldn't have said it better. I'm just so flattered that you thought that highly of me. I was just trying to get the plays right with you.
Way back 20 years ago. It makes you feel old when we say that, right?
I try to say older.
Well, this is Orlando Ortiz. Orlando is born and bred in Brooklyn, a PE and health teacher at Leon Goldstein High School. He spent some time in Puerto Rico, and he is a New York City educator. Orlando, welcome. And let's kick off with that acronym, DONE.
Done, yeah.
Where did that come from? Tell me about that.
So that actually came as a result of the pandemic, us realizing that, we were going to be limited. And I just wanted to give our students something to really take away. And, the idea of getting it done, obviously, we try to, express the importance of that. But then I just realized that maybe I could develop an acronym. And the D stands for discipline. So discipline over never-ending excuses. So the idea is to get your daily dose of done, right? Discipline over never-ending excuses. And you know, that this is something that we all come to realize. And the sooner you understand that and make that a part of your life, the better. Like, just let that discipline be part of what you do on a daily basis, right? And like, be good at doing difficult things. We're all capable. So, you know, getting it done, you know, it's just like for exercise, right? Your movement is your medicine. You're getting it done. A little dose. It doesn't have to be a lot, but everything you get done makes you a little bit better. And that's what it's all about. So being that we were remote and I had to kind of motivate our students, that became the phrase. I actually want to make a t-shirt. Done.
I was going to say, it looks like your t-shirt says intensity, but you shouldn't. And maybe if one of our listeners here is a t-shirt company, maybe they'll kick that off for us.
Yeah.
And we got my first call wrong. I even got the acronym wrong. Discipline of never-ending excuses. Done.
Yeah, the discipline over never-ending excuses. So, you know, that's the idea of getting it done. And you know, it became like the motto for the summer and into the fall. And I write it when I write up our lessons. You know, I help them. I remind them of that. And just the other day, I got a message from a student. You know, that's the one thing she wrote to me. She wrote capital D, capital O, capital N, capital E. She's like, Ortiz, I got it done. And you know, that's special to me, right? Because you planted a seed that can grow into something even greater. That she can go on and share that with other people, right? So it's a good mindset. You know, the idea of getting it done.
Awesome. And Orlando, you've been again, Leon Goldstein, your teaching career, right? How long you been there? Tell me a little bit about your work at Leon Goldstein High School and a little bit about you.
Yeah, well, I've been at Goldstein since '98. You know, I was a student teacher at FDR. That's where I met, you know, Bob Cronish, right? You know, he passed away years ago, but I'm sure you're familiar with him. You know, and I got into the officiating bug kind of bit me, right? I met Marat back then. But from FDR as a student teacher, I got an opportunity to work at Goldstein, which at the time was called Kingsborough High School. And it's been an amazing journey. I just feel so fortunate, you know, and in a lot of ways lucky, but like we all know, right? Luck favors the person who prepares and then gets the opportunity and makes the best of it. So even though the timing was right, it was about going to college, getting a degree, doing your part to be lucky, right? And you know, sometimes we confuse the two. Like I was telling my students the other day, it's not lotto luck. It's luck when preparation and opportunity meet, right? And so, you know, sometimes when we say lucky, we think of it as like the lotto, like I'm just gonna be lucky today. You know, you wanna kind of, how can I tell you, like one of my favorite, I could say mentors, but I never met him before, but this guy, Charlie Munger, he says the quickest way to get what you want is to deserve it. And I think that's what, you know, sometimes we say lucky. It's really more about putting yourself in a position where you deserve it. And then maybe things align and you do get that opportunity. So I've been very lucky to be at Goldstein. And, you know, I don't know when it ends. I don't know like how that even is going to be. Like it's been amazing. So, you know, but sometimes it's just timing, right?
Well, and you have such a good outlook and such a positive thing with the work you're doing. And I want to ask you about the fitness. But while we're talking about Goldstein, tell me about the culture of the school. You know, you people in their mind, people are watching from around the country here, Orlando, and you think of New York City, you know, big school, 4,000 kids, you know, people not knowing each other. What's it like in your school? Yeah,
Goldstein is a small school. We're on the campus of Kingsborough Community College. Normally, we don't go over 1,000 kids. It's predominantly white. You know, the school administration is fantastic. They do a heck of a job trying to make sure we diversify and that, you know, we integrate and get kids involved from different communities. But it's in a place where it's hard to get to. So sometimes that becomes an obstacle for some of the different kids. But I think the school overall is just, the culture is great, a lot of respect. I mean, in the 23 years that I've been at my school, I think we've had a fight a handful of times.
Wow.
Now, you want to hear something funny? If we had 5 fights, 3 of them were from one of my basketball players. And, you know, it's amazing because the kid was the toughest kid, but he couldn't control it at times. So it's funny. If we had 5 fights in my career, 3 of them was from this one kid.
Well, you get 5 fouls a game, so I'm sure he's the ball up. Well, Orlando, again, it was so nice to reconnect with you. but I saw you on Facebook, and I said, "Holy cow, look at this guy!" And then I saw a video, and I saw the abs and the six pack, and I said, "Oh my God, he is on fire." Tell me about you putting out these very public videos, and what was your mindset there? Were you looking to motivate people to be fit? Were they for your students? How did you start doing that?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I remember early on, when we started with social media, and I would post images of me, videos and pictures of me without a shirt, and some of my veteran teachers found that to be like risky, but I'm like, look, if Arnold Schwarzenegger's out there without a shirt, and to see a person topless working out and exercise, if there's something to that, then gee, we're really too far gone in society, but my intent till this day is just to try to motivate people, and to help people understand that, share the positive, share the things that hopefully are uplifting, not just me doing pull-ups, but uplifting. And just be a force for good, something that's positive, that also when I share, people comment, and we go back and forth. Sometimes I get messages privately about workout routines or diet and so on and so forth. So my thing is always to motivate and to hopefully influence in a positive way. And I think the overwhelming majority of the responses have been just that, like, I love what you do, keep doing it, and so on and so forth. And I hear something interesting, not every time, but how often has been the case that I would think maybe I'm posting too much, or, nobody's really paying attention, right? And then you just get that one message, like, man, Orlando, every time I feel like not working out, I think about you. I think about those videos. And now more than ever, right, I think about getting it done. So, if you could help one person, you made a difference. And that's how I look at it. Like when we used to go to officiating camps, I would say, if I could learn one thing, I got my money's worth. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what it's all about. Like, if you could help one person that feels better because they saw you, man, if we all did that, how amazing would that be, right?
Well, I look at you here. You're an educator almost 25 years, right? A science teacher is going to put out an experiment, him filming. A lot of math teachers make videos of them solving the problems. Well, here you are putting your money where your mouth is, and the videos are inspiring. Your body language is positive. They're well made. You always have a smile to say, but then you are demonstrating, hey, this works, this can work, and this can be you. I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, is to help our students recognize, like, like you mentioned, if the math teacher wasn't good at math, why would you need them, right? And it's like, well, if my physical education teacher doesn't exude fitness, well, what are we talking about, right? And not to say that, there are people that they have to be ultra lean or look like me in any way, but it's to show that this is part of your lifestyle, and that you do physical education. Like, I really do this. And I live this, and for me, it comes naturally. So, it's funny, you asked the question early in the questionnaire thing and you make me think of it. And I call it the favorite failure, right? Like, what failure do you have, right? And it's like, the very best thing that happened to me was getting into physical education. And it happened as a result of, coming up short on an economics class, being an accounting major. And
really?
that just changed my life, where I had to reevaluate my major. And I'm like, wait, I can't even get past this first economics course. And sure enough, that was like the favorite failure, because that led me to, like they say, the rest is history, right? And wow. You just don't realize, sometimes it's that one little thing to change everything.
Interesting. Orlando, how about, the kids right now? People are not into it. They're struggling. They're having a hard time. You're in a tight city there. How about the kids who are just unmotivated to be fit? You see so many kids just sitting around, eating out of the bag. Like, how are you reaching those kids, or trying to reach those kids?
If they listen, that's half the battle, right? Like, sometimes the kids are just not ready to listen, right? You know what they say, right? When the student is ready, the teacher appears. But if they're ready to listen, I always try to help them understand, like, you got to think about your future self. And maybe right now this is all pleasurable, right? And you're getting, instant gratification, but you have to learn to delay gratification. You have to learn to go through this process of again, disciplining yourself. And I always tell the kids, the best people are usually really good at that. They don't have to be told what to do, but so often, and then they figure it out, and they're able to realize, like, what's important now, right? Like, another acronym I like is WIN, right? what's important now. So it's like, can you get into these phases where you ask yourself that question, what's important now? And then most of the kids, especially at my level, they know what's in their best interest. They're just allowing the distraction to overwhelm them. And today's time, you know, we're in an incredibly powerful time of distraction. Mm. If you're not raising awareness and helping students understand that, like, listen, there are forces out there that are really working endlessly to get you away from meaningful stuff. And you have to decide for yourself, like, you know, how long do I want to be on TikTok? How long do I want to be on Instagram, right? How long do I want to be doing these things that is just cotton candy for the brain? And I think a lot of times, like I tell the kids, if you do nothing else, you'll never be able to say somebody didn't take the time to explain it. And after that, if you still want to be on that couch and do those things, it's your choice. You know, everybody runs their own race, and you might not even be running. But you know what? You can't say you didn't know. You knew better, and that was your choice. So, okay, then it is going to be what it's going to be for you. Good luck, you know?
But the thing you're doing too, Orlando, you're not only just telling them that, you're showing them that you're doing it. You're making the videos. You're making it public. And I would think that's like instant credibility and instant respect from the kids, because you're not just saying it.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because, you know, my father had this saying that later in life I realized was such, you know, BS, right? He used to say, do as I say, but not as I do. And you know, early on I believed him on that, but later I realized, like, that's not it. The whole idea is to lead by example, right? You lead from the front and you show it, yeah, and you do the things that, you know, let it be known, like, I'm doing this with you, you know. So and I've done that plenty of times with kids, you know, where they have to do a makeup. We used to do like makeup burpees. And sometimes, you know, if the kid missed the class or what have you, they have to do a certain amount, I'd be like, listen, I'll do it with you if it makes a difference for you, you know. And sure enough, you know, like they say in coaching, right? Like in coaching, players admire coaches who sweat with them. And you're like, man, my coach gets in those drills with me. He goes in, right? He gets low. He shows me, right? And now he can't play like I play, but he's sweating. He's not sitting in the bleachers talking about, you know, lines, guys. Right? And when you show that, hey, I'll sweat with you, I'll do this stuff with you, they respect you for that. They admire you for it, and they recognize that, yeah, you're really about it, you know?
And Orlando, you mentioned coaching, and you and I met on the court, but we had the stripes on. Tell me about that transition from taking that striped shirt off to wearing a coach's whistle.
Yeah, you know, it all started, I love basketball. So, I played, and, you know, I came up short in my ambitions. In retrospect, I realized I was nowhere near as good as my brain thought I was. But, you know, I get into officiating. I love it. But then there's something, I wanted to be a sports dad, you know, and in that, I recognized that I wasn't going to be able to be the official that I wanted to be and be the sports dad that I wanted to be. But I could coach and be a sports dad, because I could actually, coach my son's Pee-wee things. And sure enough, that transition came really easy. I'll tell you, I'm on Long Island at a college game, Division III, and it's a Saturday. So, you know, Saturday's a big day for college, you know, college basketball. And the day before, I was helping my son with a righty layup. I'll never forget, this was a turning point, Andrew. The day before, I was helping my son with a righty layup. It was in-house. He's 10 years old. And I bought a camera so my wife could film it for me and all these things. But I'm taking this trip. It's a noon game, so I'm on the road at 10 o'clock, probably 9:30. But my mind is like, I should be at that game watching my son play. And then at halftime, I text message my wife, and she's like, he made a righty layup.
Oh, man.
That just broke me up. And that was the turning point where I realized I'm not going to be able to do this, because my heart was over there. And there was no way that I could keep doing that, knowing that I wanted to be there with him.
Wow. And
that was it. Like, that was the absolute turning point. I always remember it now, and I'll never forget. So once she told me that, I said, I can't do this. Wow. I have to be a sports dad. And then the coaching transition, you know, opportunities came up in my school, and, you know, and what an amazing journey, you know, that I've had as a result. But the officiating was a blast. I have fond memories of the feats and the failures, but they're all fond memories. And, you know, zero regrets. I'm happy for the entire journey. And to be able to coach now and work with our kids, the kids that we get now, you know, it's awesome. You know, it's just recognizing what you're working with. You know, because we play B division, so we don't get like, you know, you know these levels like Christ the King. You know, is a nowhere near that. You know, I'll tell you a funny story. The day Kobe died, that we get the news that Kobe dies, tragic death, right? My assistant coach and me are at Severian, watching Severian play.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and it's you know, you never forget, right? Where were you when that happened? And Severian had given more pump fakes in the first quarter than my team did all season.
Wow, the Clippers, baby.
So you know, when I look at the levels, and I'm like, man, these guys have pump faked more in this first quarter than my team did all season.
Wow.
It's the levels,
Wow.
you know, to help kids realize, like, you know, there's levels to this thing. So, and me as a coach, reminding myself that there's levels to this thing. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
it did. No, absolutely. And those kids are lucky to be with you. But I want to get to some other your passions, Orlando. Again, we see you on film, the fitness. We know you're teaching, but another thing that you're doing, you're deeply involved is with reading. And I love the saying that not all leaders are readers, but not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. And you are leading the way. 500 books in the last 5 years.
yeah.
How do you do it? How do you pick the books? How do you create the time? Tell me about that.
Man, so in terms of, I get on people's book lists, and early on I was on this guy, Ty Lopez. He had a great book list. So I get on book lists, and a lot of times also what happens is whatever book you read, the bibliography might have books that kind of are similar along those lines. And then things happen to me. Like, I'll tell you, you know, I was always like this. It's just then time opened up when my son graduates college. You know, I have a lot more time. And then I just started getting into these binges where you just book binges, right? But my routine is simple. I just read, you know, 3 to 5 books every day, like at least a chapter. I wake up at 5 in the morning, you know, I do some journaling, and then I get into my reads for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, you know, depending on the day, you know, and then I dip in as I can throughout the day. But it's been an amazing journey. And I tell kids all the time, like, that's the superpower. That's the superpower that opens your mind, expands you to new worlds. Not everybody gets to travel outwardly, but you could all travel inwardly. And this reading stuff really, you know, makes a difference. I think back to when I was in high school, and I went to high school in Puerto Rico, and when I lived with my grandmother, and we didn't even have a bookshelf.
Wow.
You know, like my grandmother had one book, the Bible, you know, and then a magazine, you know. So when you look at that and you're like, well, of course you're gonna be limited in your learning when you don't have, you know, opportunities to just grab a book and be like, hey, let me just dip into this thing. But later in life, I realized, like, that's the superpower. The superpower is, how do you use your brain? And learning how to learning through reading is, man, it's been invaluable. But I tell you what, there's some amazing stuff out there. And, you know, the frustration sometimes for me is that, you know, it's impossible to read them all. But there's some amazing literature out there. There's some amazing stories. You know, I always tell, like, for your athletes, I tell my guys, I don't think most of them read it, but one of the most amazing stories is Endurance. You know, Ernest Shackleton and the story of the Antarctic voyage that goes wrong in the early 1900s. Amazing, like, books that'll change your life. But, you know, how do you get a kid to read?
Wow. Well, you're leading, you're modeling, and it's brought you to some places. You mentioned about, I started reading about Seneca and the lessons of Seneca. You're into that now. Is that something that you read and that you got into it?
Yeah, so Seneca is my favorite. Like, I have a big 5 that I've been working with pretty much since the new year, and he's one of them. You know, he's a Stoic. Stoicism is a form of philosophy. He's one of the most prolific Stoics. But most important is that Seneca has a book that I think, like, when Kobe passes away, right? You know, again, it's tragic. I was telling my friend, and I give this book out all the time. It's called On the Shortness of Life. And it's again, by Seneca. And it just helps us and reminds us that a lot of times the things that happen in life are, yes, they're tragic and they're unfortunate, but they are life. And these are the things that we have to learn to kind of get the mental resilience to realize that this is all part of the journey. Accidents happen every single day all over the world. Sometimes with our superstars, our heroes, they hurt us a little bit more, but we have to continually remind ourselves that this is life, and life has very unpredictable times. And so that book to me is one of those that I give all the time. Like, listen, you might want to read this, because you'll realize that what happened is not out of the norm. Like, this has happened throughout. It's just we don't expect it, right? And then we get kind of rattled. But the reality is that accidents happen every single day. Mm. And the fact that, like, you're human makes you open, subject to these possibilities. And I think what it does for us, instead of being in that denial or in that, feeling like it's not right, it shouldn't have happened that way. You have to recognize that's why it's so valuable to make the best of every moment and make the moments matter, because they do, and sometimes we get caught up on petty things that you realize, 5 minutes from now, right? Five weeks from now, it's not even going to matter. Yeah. So, and I think Seneca does that for me. Is I read his stuff every day, really a little bit, and it just always brings me back to that tranquility. So I love him. It's funny, right? I go from salsa to Seneca.
Well, it shows how well-rounded you are. Orlando, I got ADD. It's not a disability. It's a superpower, and it drives me, and it's energy. But how do you take all these ideas? How do you, if you're reading 3 to 5 books at a time, do you get the stories tangled? You get them in? Are you writing them down afterwards? You mentioned about journaling. How do you keep track of it all?
Yeah, I write them. I write some, they're called brain droppings, right? Little ideas. Sometimes I come up with my own ideas as a result, right? Like, you get some ideas where, just the other day, I shared one of my own quotes, right? Like, your room for improvement should include a fireplace, right? Because everything fuels the flames. Mm-hmm. And that's what, we always talk about room for improvement, right? So I say your room for improvement should include a fireplace. Everything fuels the flames. And so, when you read a lot, you start to develop your own ideas, which is the best, is to not just take what they say. And Seneca says this, in one of his stories, is it's not to just say, Seneca says, it's to realize, like, because of that, I understand this better. Mm. And the best part is when you can make those connections. So I love to let them mix, because it's almost like a pot of soup. And now you're stirring it all in, and sometimes things come up, new flavors come up, right? And the flavors being your ideas. And you realize that, man, if I understand, Seneca a little bit more, and I can compare him to, whatever, let's say, I'm reading Carl Jung lately a lot, right? And I compare Carl Jung to Seneca, and you start to see the commonalities, and you start seeing also where they don't coincide. You start making better connections. And that's way more valuable than, remembering a quote or, a concept. When you get the gist of it, you'll be way better off, I think, overall. Now, if you needed to make it a study, then yeah, drop all the books, get into one. But that's probably more like what we would do when we were in college, high school, where you had to get the main idea.
Sure.
This is about the main idea of life. So I'm trying to get from everybody as much as I can. And, you start mixing and matching, it actually creates new blends. And that becomes your inner thoughts now. Like, you have quality thoughts that continue to rotate around. It's a special thing. It's amazing. I just, I wish somebody would have told me this sooner, but again, everything meets you at the right time, right? So it is what it is.
You're on fire. You're rich in life, and your son, your wife. I mean, just really so well-rounded, Orlando. I hope I could get on your reading list. I'm going to send you my book, and it'd be an honor if I could get on there.
I don't know if you can bump out Seneca right now, though.
Seneca and Andrew Murat.
I love it.
Orlando, I wanted to ask you about this. You talked about this being a profound time, and it has struck us in so many ways. But one of the things that's come out is about equity and race and really the lack of equity, right? The mismatching. I heard an amazing quote. They said, they use the saying, we're all in the same boat, but we're not all in the same boat. We're in the same storm. But some people got yachts, some people got ships, some people got cruise ships, and some people are in canoes and kayaks, and some people are drowning. So we're not. But as a Latino male from New York City, tell me, do you feel that you're a role model for young Latinos? Do you feel that? Do you intentionally do that to be a role model for Latinos?
Yeah, I strive to be the best version of myself. And I think the qualities that I'm able to, bring out, right, and let people see are scratching the surface is really when you get to know a person, right, and you get to know the nuance. I think that's what we struggle sometimes, that you don't realize, like, we're all complex people. And, we have ideas that sometimes we're balancing out and we're trying to figure out ourselves. So being a Hispanic, I have a background. And in that background, I have life experiences that brought me to this day. And so, yeah, you want to be a role model, but it's a role model in the sense that to show that you're human, and your humanity should supersede everything. No matter if you're, now they say Latinx, right? But Latino, or if you're, white, black, it doesn't matter. It's just a matter of can you develop into a quality person that's a force for good in our society? That you when people see you, they think positive things. Right. And I think that I'm able to live that. And when people see me, like I had a friend run into me. He was coming out of the ice cream parlor. He's like, "You caught me." And I'm like, "Wait, what are you talking about? I'm going in too." But you see, because they see you as a fitness person, right? And he's like, "You caught me." But no, I think the role model part is about helping our kids understand that you're just trying to get out there and be the best version of yourself. And, and to learn to accept yourself for who you are. Like when you talk about Latino, right? What I say also is these are the parts that we have to remind ourselves that nobody picked to be Latino or white or black. You just popped out into the world, literally just popped out. And you didn't get to pick the era. You didn't get to pick the place. You didn't get to pick your name. And so when you think about, holding somebody into some sort of, ethnicity, it's like, well, I didn't pick to be Puerto Rican, but I'm human. And, here I am, right? That I know, right? I'm human and I'm male, and here I am. But as far as being Latino or any other ethnicity, these are the parts that I think we lose ourselves in because we create those separations, not realizing we're so much more than that. Mm-hmm. But it's about coming to that humanity part. I always think of the two H's, humanity and humility. And, we lack that at times, where we're not being humble enough with each other to recognize that, we have something to give. And, that's part of being a role model, is recognizing I have something to offer. I have something to give you,
Well, and you're doing it. You're doing it to your students daily in class, coaching. And again, the videos, right? You don't know where they're going to go, but you're out there in the snow,
right?
You're out there in the heat. I was doing my push-ups and sit-up this morning saying me and Orlando are about the same age, and he's in a lot better shape than me. I need to get going. You're inspiring me, Orlando. But
yeah, that's a blessing, man. That's a blessing.
Yeah, I'm really blown away by your humility and the work you're doing. And I like that you're making it public, because anyone who sees what you're doing, no one's going to say this guy's showing off. You're leading. You're showing the example. And again, the reading and the mindset, it's really tremendous.
You see that too. Thank you, Andrew. You see that with folks, like sometimes, they'll make comments like that, like, like you're showing off. But I think of it as, a lot of times those are the very folks that there's an ego bit there, like a little sensitive, a little low on the self-esteem. And, part of me has learned to recognize that for what it is and not take insult to it, but realize, like, there's somebody that for them to tell you that they have to have saw you, they have to have watched you. Right. And a lot of times you find that, like, the snark comes out and you're like, wait, that's just a workout video. What's wrong? Right. Like, come on, you could do better than that. But we have this in us. We have this sometimes when we feel inadequate. And then, you get these subtle, passive aggressive, right, snipes. And but I always rely now on Seneca more than anything, because he's like the wise person. He just brushes those off. Like, I saw that coming, like almost in Star Wars, where you're like, choo, choo. Like, come on, is that the best you could do?
You're like a Jedi out there I've seen you doing the pull-ups. It looks like you're using your Jedi powers. I could barely get one done. This one got me. I was impressed when you did the pull-up and then you pushed up on the thing.
Yeah, the muscle up.
Come on. Orlando, we're coming down the stretch. This was, I am filled up here. I hope our listening audience is, and we're going to share this out. But before we get to rapid fire, Orlando, we touched on a lot of things. Anything else you wanted to share to educators out there, students that might be watching, parents that might be watching? Anything else you wanted to add?
I just think what I would say to, all of them, students, parents, teachers, is, lead from the front. Lead with love, lead from the front, and show your vulnerability. Have the courage to be vulnerable. And a lot of times when we think courage, we don't realize that before courage is vulnerability, and you have to put yourself out there a bit and show, hey, what's wrong with a teacher going through a transformation where their kids see, wow, this, Mr. Such and Such did this, Miss Such and Such did this, right? Or a teacher going through a process. I'm going to build to 50 push-ups straight, and then you work through it, and they'll see you go through this process. I mean, that to me, those are like really inspiring things that a lot of our students, teachers, parents can aspire to, is to just, again, lead by example and recognize that everything you do is being watched. And so why not give them something good to see?
Amen, brother. You are doing that. If you haven't watched his videos on Facebook, we'll talk about how to get in touch with him at the end, but check him out, Orlando Ortiz on Facebook. Orlando, let's dial it home. This is we're coming down the last media timeout. Rapid fire. These are quick answers. First thing that comes to your head, are you ready?
Ready.
Here we go. Last book you read.
Oh, man, the Tao Te Ching for the umpteenth time.
Wow.
Stephen Mitchell translation.
Last movie you saw.
Oh, I don't have one.
Oh, movies. You read.
I keep watching The Book of Eli. I like that one a lot. I just love the scenes.
Yeah, yeah. Did you watch the Bruce? I know Bruce Lee in there. Did you watch the Like Water?
No, I didn't. I read the book. I listened to the audiobook and I read his biography, but no, not yet. I'll get to it though.
You got a documentary, Be Like Water. I think it's on ESPN. Favorite place to travel?
Santa Monica. They have the calisthenics and the beach. Heaven.
A lot of workout outside there, right?
Yes, heaven.
Favorite music?
Oh man, lately it's been reggaeton.
Okay, you play it during class? You let the kids play?
Yeah, I let them play it, and we enjoy it. Again, you got to sing, to dance. That's beauty. That it's hard to be mad when you're dancing. So anytime you're dancing and you're singing, that's good energy. That's joy. And you want to encourage that, right? So, and it's nice to see kids, again, sing and dance, and it unites. So yeah, reggaeton lately has been the one.
I'm going to sub out the next question. My mom got a question. You got any fitness tips for seniors?
Oh man, yeah. Well, number one is do what you can. Do what you can. And again, every day a little bit, it goes way better than, once or twice a week. But walk around the block, hit the stairs instead of the elevator. The built-in stuff, it just works wonders. If you can stand for a little bit, right? Walk for a little bit. Don't spend as much time seated. But do what you can. That's the most important thing, and if you have a bad back, then use the arms, but definitely do what you can.
Awesome. Orlando, you talked about a lot of your passions, things that motivate you, uplift you. What's something that gets under your skin? What's a pet peeve of yours?
Oh man. So, how can I tell you? So like pens, right? I have to make sure it's closed, and they have to be just like that. Like if I saw a pen like that, I'd have to flip it. and then I have a special pen. Like I have a pen, I buy it the same pen because it writes like I like.
Yeah.
So a bit of a peeve, You see,
and I've been guilty. I got a lot of black marks on my pants.
Yeah. So little things like that, but I don't want to sound gross, but let's just say the toilet paper, it has to be even. Mm. If somebody rips it and it comes out uneven, that just.
I got 157 shows. I have not heard that one yet.
That one kills me too. I'm like, could you just keep it even?
When I don't feel like working out, I fill in the blank.
Yes, when I don't feel like working out, I know it's worth double. So you go get it done. Mm. Discipline over never-ending excuses.
When kids are done with a year of your class with Mr. Ortiz, what is it that you hope they say about you?
I just hope they say that he was the realest dude. Like he's that guy that he really lives that lifestyle. He didn't talk about it. He was about it, and I think that's always the goal. I feel like the day that I can't do that, that'll be the day that I'll retire. You know, so they see me doing the pull-ups, they see me doing the burpees.
The kids leave a lot of comments on Facebook and stuff.
At times, you know, or Instagram, you know, they might write to me and stuff. You know, I try to keep my distance though. You know, it's such an interesting time, you know, with exchanges with students. So when they write, I write back, and I just hope that, you know, it's in areas that are most public, and preferably Google Classroom, where everything is there for the DOE stuff, and then, you know, work from there. So
best purchase under $100 that has had a great impact on your life.
Oh man, that's a good one. Man, you know, I would say the push-up bars, because I still use them to this day. You know, these little parallettes.
Yeah.
And you know, I use those a lot. You know, any set of you know 20s could do wonders. So, but the push-up bars work well for me.
How many push-ups can you do in a row? Don't be, you know, shy.
Well, you know, we call it on demand. So on demand, I would say right now I'm good for 70 on demand. It's funny, a guy tells me, he's like, let me know when you get to 85. I'm like, you don't have a video of any.
How about one? Can you give me one?
Last time you did 85 push-ups that you're asking me. So it's funny, man. People are amazing.
Something about Orlando Ortiz that people don't know about.
You know, I don't know. I would say the most important thing is that, you know, there's so much more to me that, you know, a lot of times when they see you as a phys ed teacher, they think you're just that gym guy. But, you know, I read Young, right? I read Carl Jung. I read Seneca. Like, you know, there's so much more to me. And I've had life experiences that go beyond, you know, maybe officiating or teaching. And I think more than anything is that I'm human, right? And I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. And so nobody is. So, you know, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
Beautiful. Best Brooklyn eatery.
Ah, man, that's a tough one, man. But if in my head, you know, and being a Brooklyn guy, man, L&B's is always one of my spots that I go to. So L&B's is definitely, you know, at the top of the list. There's so many. Mia's Bakery is fantastic for the sweets, you know. So there's so many. We look for spots almost every weekend. So
give me your best Brooklyn saying that you love the most.
Oh man, well it depends on the neighborhood.
It's diverse, man. Give me one.
You know, but the one that comes to mind, because it's Brooklyn for life, is forget about it, right? Forget about it. Forget about it. I love that. You know, Donnie Brasco, they had the whole scene when I don't know if you ever watched the movie Donnie Brasco.
Oh yeah.
Forget about it. So, it's even, I think it's on one of the signs, right? You leaving Brooklyn, forget about it.
Brooklyn gets a bad rap because
I would say we don't have any bad rappers in Brooklyn. We got Biggie Smalls, we have Jay-Z. No bad rappers in Brooklyn. So
that's a good. There's two top ones right there. Orlando, you dropped a lot of knowledge. I love your quotes. I love the things you said. Do you have a favorite quote? You have something that you really, if you want to leave the show here with a quote?
Oh yeah, you know, I have a bunch, but the one that comes to mind that is I'll go back with Seneca. You know, he has one that again every day this is like on my mind, right? Let no one rob me of a single moment, a single day that's not going to give me something of equal value in return. Mm-hmm. And you know, I gotta say, Drew, you gave me much more in return for today's stage and interview. So I thank you for that. But to me, that's a powerful quote, right? Let no one rob me of a single day who's not going to give me something of equal value in return. And that one stays with me. Seneca.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Very warm. Orlando, that your school is lucky to have you. And it's inspiring to meet someone or reunite with somebody that is so deep and so rich. Like you said, it's a bad rap. PE teachers. He's just a gym guy. Well, you demonstrated today more than ever that you are way more than that. Orlando, if people wanted to get in touch with you, if they wanted to ask you fitness questions, what would be the best way for them?
Well, Facebook is fine. You know, Orlando Ortiz at Facebook. And on Instagram, I'm stoic_O. You know, stoic, STOIC _, that low line, and then O. You know, I reach out. You know, I'm always cool for ideas, the exchange of ideas. So that's pretty much it for me. Definitely don't email me.
We won't put that out there, but guys, check him out. Orlando, really impressed with what you're doing. We are going to head out here on show number 157. It's been an honor to reconnect with you. And I wish you the best. And I hope I could get on the book list, man. That's my goal here.
Man, you never know, Drew. Right after Seneca.
That's it, man. Well, we are going to sign off here on Education, Leadership, and Beyond. I'm Andrew Murata, host of the program. This was show number 157. If I could help you in any way, I'm on Twitter at Andrew Murata21. Orlando, as an educator, I would suggest you get on Twitter as well. It's a great spot there. Thank you to our viewing audience, and we'll get our music going. Orlando, thanks again, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, let me mute these, and here we go.